Good morning, everyone. I am SuperDerek, and it's time for your JRPG weekly update. And before we really dive into things, I want to tell you guys that it was a little bit of a light news week, so I've got some stuff in here that I normally wouldn't necessarily throw in. And also, I have supplemented this with a new segment that we'll talk about a little bit later on, an impromptu discussion topic, if you will. But before we get into that, here is our massive air quote uh, headline here, and that is that Nintendo has applied for a trademark for The Last Story. A lot of you might remember that Last Story was made by Mistwalker, the guy behind the original Final Fantasy games. Created Mistwalker. He made The Lost Odyssey and The Last Story. Well, Nintendo of America, or not Nintendo of America, but just a Nintendo has applied for a trademark for The Last Story again. And what that means for us is absolutely nothing. And I think that that's something that that's really the main reason I wanted to include this at the top of the news today, is that I did see that this was making some waves on various subreddits, specifically the JRPG subreddit. Hello, everyone, and uh, and anybody who happened to just see the headline and not really dive into discussions really should know that the uh, the application for a trademark means absolutely nothing. And if you need proof of that means absolutely nothing, may I remind you of Chrono Brake. Oh man, Chrono Brake was something that we were so excited for so long, and it never came into anything, as well evidenced by the fact that we don't have a new Chrono game whatsoever. It could just mean that, they're thinking about maybe re-releasing a digital download version for Switch, or it could mean that they just, sneezed and somebody accidentally filed it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. It means nothing. Even if they have plans, until they actually confirm that they're going to be doing something, and even sometimes then, games get canceled all the time. Like this is one of the earliest stages of games being produced. This may in fact be the last we ever hear of The Last Story. So don't get your hopes up at all. Get those expectations back in check, and yeah, stop looking at trademark applications, guys. Okay, that way lay madness. Also, we have a little bit of sort of news. Remember a couple of weeks ago when Hajime Tabata resigned from Final Fantasy 15, or well, he resigned from Square Enix, but he was the guy behind the Final Fantasy 15 and all the DLCs. They ended up canceling a lot of stuff. Well, Square Enix they went ahead and replaced the guy, Takeshi Aramaki, who is the lead programmer over there. Well, now he is the lead, just in general. He's the guy. So that's cool. They already canceled the Final Fantasy 15 DLC though, so I doubt that this is really going to amount to anything of consequence anytime soon. But Luminous Productions has somebody at the helm again. But hey, we also have some new games that were announced this week. Starting with War of the Visions, Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, which is we don't really know anything about it. Basically, it was just a title that was given to us, and based on that, we can infer a couple of things. Well, we know that it's going to be a tactical RPG, and what we know of Brave Exvius is that it is a mobile game, so we're probably looking at a mobile tactical RPG from Square, which, if you're really desperate for a new Final Fantasy Tactics game, if you're really desperate, maybe you can go ahead and start getting your hopes up. But I'm envisioning a tactical RPG in which there will be microtransactions, like, oh, you pay $1 to revive one of your permadead heroes. Yeah. Or you can buy more heroes for just 50 cents for a I don't know, a pack of God, it's probably a gotcha or something. I'm having a really hard time being excited for anything mobile, but that won't keep me from talking about some other mobile games coming up here pretty soon. Record of Agarest War Marriage? It's the word marriage minus one R. Mariage, Mariage, uh, I don't know, heading to Steam in spring of 2019, and fans of the Agarest series may be pretty excited about this because this was a PSP game that was released a long while ago that we never got here in the States. Well, now it's coming to Steam in spring of 2019. So if you're a fan of the Agarest series, then this is something that you have uh, coming on your horizon. So congratulations to you guys. I am still I I haven't really been initiated into the Agarest War series, but it sounds like it's gonna be basically a turn-based RPG slash visual novel, which uh I mean, that's kind of what Persona is in a way, but so this could be up my alley, but it also looks like it's going to be very much anime inspired, very much centering around waifus and such, which isn't necessarily my thing, but to each their own. I'm not going to judge. You guys do you. Obsidian has announced that, well, they're going to make an announcement about a new RPG at the Game Awards. I don't even know when the Game Awards are, honestly. That's my level of not caring about the Game Awards. I don't know where it is, who's doing it, or anyways, regardless of all of that, Obsidian is going to make an announcement about an RPG. And I wanted to bring this up because this is another case of me telling people to set their expectations in check. Obsidian, again, was recently purchased by Microsoft, so this is probably an RPG coming to Xbox One and maybe PC. So that's too bad, but you know what? Whatever. If you're a PC gamer or if you have an Xbox One, good for you guys. This is something that, and I hope I'm wrong about this. I don't think I am, but I hope that I am. And because Obsidian, honestly, they make some really good games. They made the best Fallout game since Fallout 2, at least. There, I said it. So yeah, they're going to be announcing a new RPG, which is pretty cool. And also, BioWare has teased a Dragon Age game. And BioWare said that they won't tell you where to look for the update, but that it's supposed to be coming out sometime this month. Which maybe means the Video Game Awards. I don't know. Maybe not, but it's BioWare, and, if you're a fan of Mass Effect or really anything that they've done in the past, keep them in mind because that could be pretty cool. And we have some release date and localization announcements to get through as well, starting with Nelke and the Legendary Alchemists Ateliers of the New World. Oh, now that's a mouthful. They announced a release date for the West. It has been announced it's coming to the West, and they're aiming at releasing it on March 26, 2019 for PS4, Nintendo Switch, and PC. The Elder Scrolls Blades, that other mobile game I was hinting at a little earlier, that Bethesda's putting together, they are delaying their release until spring of 2019. So I don't know. I've seen some mixed stuff about that. I know that it's starting on mobile. That at E3 they said it would also be coming to some other platforms as well, including VR, which I think sounds pretty cool. And I honestly would check it out, but I hope that they're delaying this because they've realized that they can't just slap a franchise name onto something and scoot it out the door and everything will be hunky-dory. I'm hoping that they're taking this backlash that they've been getting over Fallout 76, and we'll talk a little bit about that later on. I'm hoping that they're taking this as a sign that, we really need to make sure that we are paying close attention to the caliber of stuff that we are putting out. And I'm hoping that that's part of the reason why they delayed it until spring 2019. Speaking of mobile games, Korean mobile game Destiny Child, not to be confused with Destiny's Child, that's completely different. Destiny Child is going to be released globally in English this month. And this game features live 2D animations, and more importantly, now I know what to call it when mobile games have this not good art style. They call it live 2D, and now I have a name for it. And that's really the most important part about this whole announcement, where they have this basically they have this character that somebody drew, and then they just like wiggle it around a little bit. I hate that stuff. Basically, that is my least favorite art style of them all. Like, I would prefer an RPG look like Shin-Chan. Actually, I would really like a Shin-Chan RPG. That'd be pretty great. But that said, let's move on to Path of Exile for PS4. The PS4 release of this has been delayed into February of 2019, and this is a free-to-play action RPG that's already out on PC and Xbox One. And I don't know, if you're interested in this sort of thing, you probably already have played it. But if you've been looking forward to it coming out on PS4, now you need to wait until February 2019. And I believe the game was actually supposed to originally come out like this month. And that's kind of annoying when games get last minute delays. Like, I understand that a delayed game is at least eventually good, but an unfinished game is forever bad. I understand that, but still, like, you would think they could at least have said something a little earlier, but whatever. Anyways, so now it's time for discussion time, and I've got a subject here from a viewer. He said, "Why don't we see modern settings in RPGs?" And this came from Jay Soxfelloff. So thank you, Jay, for the discussion topic. Now, why don't we see modern settings in RPGs? Well, we do sometimes, but for the most part, I feel like the reason that we don't is that RPGs revolve a lot around escapism. And escapism is something that drives people, like introverts like me, to like reading books or into RPGs or into drawing. It's something that can take your mind out of where you are right now and take it off somewhere else, and that you can decompress. You know, the stresses of the actual world can leave you. Escapism is a really big draw for people like me, for people who like RPGs, for fans of fantasy and sci-fi. So it's hard to escape reality when you are escaping to a world that's very similar to our own. And that's not to say that it doesn't happen. There are games that sort of try their hand at this. Obviously, the first one that comes to mind is Earthbound, which takes you away to the magical world of 1990X, which is pretty interesting, and I think that its setting is one of the very things that makes it feel unique. Pokemon is a franchise that tends to bring people to a very similar time, but a very different world where technology has advanced to this point where there's things like cars, boats, and modern infrastructure, but also it's very different. It's different enough in the world that it presents because there's obviously Pokemon instead of animals. And then, of course, there are some more modern games that were even just like recently announced, such as Destiny Connect, which is based around the year of 1999, which is probably at this point, it's 20 years ago. So the setting there is probably still far enough removed from the current situation that we're in, the current timeline, that escapism is still possible. So, but we don't see a lot of that here because I feel like that escapism is really, it appeals to enough of the fan base, maybe not everybody, but enough of the fan base that by making a game that doesn't feature that, that doesn't enable that escapism, is something that will probably cut into a lot of people's potential buyership, you know? I think that that's probably got to be at least a pretty big part of it. And now moving on to the next discussion topic. This one was submitted by myself, in which I'm going to try to sort of defend myself against some criticism that I've received over the last couple of JRPG weekly updates, in which I've commented on games that I haven't played. And I've been told by people who played Fallout 76 that they really enjoyed it. I've been told by people who've played the new Pokemon game that they've really enjoyed it. And you know what? Just because I'm sitting here in front of a camera with a microphone doesn't mean that my opinions that I talk about are any more official than anybody else's. Let me tell you, my opinions are just as invalid as every one of yours. So, and also what I've been trying to do over the last few weeks is to express my opinions, but make them pretty clear that these are just opinions based on, my experience as part of the peanut gallery. And they're not in any way supposed to be reviews of these games, because usually when I release reviews, they have like the word review in the title and stuff. And I'm just giving my impressions based on what's actually happening, and also I'm reporting on the facts of how things are being received. Pokemon Let's Go has been received very well and is selling very well. Although I am saying that I've said that my perception of the series is one that I wish that it had more RPG elements, and that it doesn't look, based on what I'm seeing, to be moving in that direction, which, whatever, it's just an opinion. And then also regarding Fallout 76, that game is looking like it's doing pretty poorly, which is too bad. People have been showing a lot of bugs and having a lot of issues and complaining a lot about how it's not exactly much of a Fallout experience because of the lack of NPCs and the repetition of how a lot of these quests end, which I'm not going to talk about because, I mean, that'd be kind of spoiler territory. I just wanted to say that any opinions that I express here are exactly that, my invalid opinions, and they're just as invalid as yours. So, so just being in front of a camera and a microphone doesn't mean that I'm magically any more authoritative than anybody else, or any less, because I'm going to continue to express my opinions in these sorts of things as I deliver factual news of what's actually occurring. So just be aware that I'm a human and I have opinions. Moving on to new releases that are coming out this week. Monster Boy in the Cursed Kingdom is coming out on PS4, Switch, and Xbox One, which looks pretty cool. I've been following this, and I'm hoping that maybe I'll get my hands on a review copy, but we'll see what happens. Persona Dancing Endless Night Collection is coming to PS4 and PlayStation Vita. The Last Remnant HD is coming out on PlayStation 4, and then Atelier Ireland Series Deluxe Pack is coming out on the PS4, Nintendo Switch, and PC. And that pretty much wraps it up for this week, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. Again, I am SuperDerek. This is the JRPG Weekly Update, and this was all news to me. Take care, and I'll see you guys next time.